Welcome to today's deep dive. I want to start off by asking you, the listener, a pretty direct question.
Ooh, diving right in. I
My-
like it.
Yeah, we're getting right to it.
Yeah.
So, if you've spent the last year using artificial intelligence to do your job like twice as fast, whether that's clearing your inbox or writing code or maybe drafting quarterly reports,
Right.
do you feel like you are securing your career? Because if you think getting faster makes you indispensable, the material we're unpacking today is going to seriously challenge everything you're currently doing.
It really is a profound shift in perspective. I mean, today's source material is this highly thought-provoking set of notes. It's titled Statistician in Pharma Identity Crisis.
Catchy title.
Right. And the mission of our deep dive today is to explore the central, honestly kind of uncomfortable question the author poses. In the AI era, is the statistics function in the pharmaceutical industry actually growing its strategic influence, or is it merely, surviving more efficiently?
And we're going to use the pharma statistician as our case study today. But to be clear, their identity crisis is it's the exact same identity crisis a financial analyst or a marketing manager or, a software engineer is facing right now.
Yeah, that is the crucial context for you, the listener. It doesn't matter what your background is. This document is basically a fundamental blueprint for surviving the AI revolution in literally any knowledge-based industry.
Any job where you use your brain and a computer, basically.
Exactly. And the central warning from our source material is a phrase that, honestly, it should make every modern professional pause. The author states, and I quote, "Efficiency without expansion is just self-commoditization."
Wow. Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we look at how to thrive with AI, we really have to understand why simply getting faster at our current jobs is, well, it's actually a trap.
Yeah, a massive trap.
Because in almost every corporate setting I can think of, we are constantly told that efficiency is the ultimate goal.
Right.
Lean Six Sigma, optimization, doing more with less. That is the modern corporate mantra.
Oh, absolutely.
So why does the author say that delivering analysis faster or designing innovative trials only yields limited returns?
Well, because there is a massive difference between what the author calls optimizing inside a box versus raising the ceiling.
Okay, optimizing inside a box. What does that look like?
Think about it. For years, knowledge workers have been telling their bosses the exact same story. Like, hey, I found a way to run this data pipeline faster, or I can design this workflow better.
Right. I saved the company 10 hours this week.
Exactly. But the text points out that those are just table stakes now.
Yeah.
Everyone has access to the same large language models. Everyone is getting faster.
So the competitive advantage of speed just drops to zero.
Yep, that's zero.
It makes me think of an economic analogy. Isn't optimizing your current tasks with AI kind of like, I don't know, like being a highly paid ice delivery man in the 1920s and you decide to buy a much faster horse to deliver your ice quicker?
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. You're feeling incredibly proud of your efficiency, but you're completely ignoring the fact that all your customers are starting to buy electric refrigerators. The speed of the delivery just doesn't matter when the fundamental value of what you're providing is dropping.
That captures the economic mechanism perfectly. And the text points out a very specific, honestly, pretty harsh reality about what we can call the automation trap.
The automation trap.
Yeah. Think about pushing a corporate process from, say, 85% automation up to 95% automation.
Okay. That sounds like a big win on a performance review.
It does. And companies spend months, sometimes years, trying to engineer that extra 10% of efficiency into their workflow. But the text argues that pushing for that final stretch is not only incredibly difficult, but the marginal value it brings to the broader system actually shrinks.
Wait, really? Why does the value shrink if you're making the whole thing more automated?
Because a human being can easily step in to clean up that last mile of a process anyway.
No,
Right. If the AI gets the report 85% of the way there, a human spending 10 minutes to fix the formatting is cheap. You don't get a massive premium for automating that last 10% because, well, the real friction was already mostly removed.
So you spend all this energy and probably a lot of money polishing a process that the company doesn't actually value that highly to begin with.
Exactly. And here's the chilling takeaway behind that self-commoditization warning we talked about earlier. By using AI solely to handle our current, well-defined scope more efficiently, we think we're proving our worth.
But we aren't.
No, what we are actually doing is teaching the corporate system to reprice our scope downward.
Wow.
We're proving that our core tasks take less time, require less deep human cognition, and therefore should cost the company less money. We aren't making ourselves indispensable. We are actively pricing ourselves out of leverage.
We're teaching the system to reprice us downward. That is a brutal
It's a
realization.
wake-up call, for sure.
So, if optimizing inside our current box leads directly to self-commoditization, then logically the only way out is to expand the box entirely.
Right.
The source argues we must reposition upstream.
Yes. You have to move to where the water is flowing from, not where it ends up. And the author shares this really powerful piece of wisdom, an epiphany they had back in grad school from their PhD advisors.
What was the advice?
The advisor said the goal of a statistician shouldn't be to simply support the medical research. The goal should be to lead the medical research and have the clinical experts support them.
Okay, that shifts the entire mindset. It's going from being a service center just waiting around for a ticket to being like the architect of the whole building.
Exactly.
But let's ground this for a second. For those of us who aren't in pharma or statistics, what was that traditional service desk role like?
So traditionally, the statistician's main output was providing a p-value.
Right, the p-value.
Yeah. For anyone outside the field, a p-value is basically the mathematical finish line of an experiment. It's the stamp of approval that says, yes, this drug actually worked. The result wasn't just random luck.
Right.
For decades, the statistician's job was just to receive the data at the end of a long trial and deliver that specific number.
Right. And in the AI era, the bottleneck is no longer processing that data to get the p-value. The AI can just do the math instantly.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the new bottlenecks are entirely upstream.
Upstream, meaning before the data even exists.
Yes. The text specifically calls out areas like clinical hypothesis formation. I mean, it takes deep human insight to know which hypothesis is even worth testing in the first place.
That makes sense.
AI cannot sit in a room and read the nuanced emotional tone of a regulator at the FDA during a tense negotiation. AI cannot handle the messy bridge between early-stage discovery and late-stage development.
So the source is directing statisticians, and really all of us, to become key opinion leaders, to frame both the scientific and the business questions.
Precisely. You can't just be the math person.
But I have to push back on the practicality of this.
Sure.
Because, hold on, it's very easy to say on paper, oh, just insert yourself into the room before the question is formalized. But in reality, in a rigid corporate hierarchy, a junior statistician can't just crash a VP-level clinical strategy meeting.
No, definitely not.
The clinical team isn't sending out invitations to the stats team for their early brainstorms. How does the author suggest actually navigating that corporate red tape without, getting fired for overstepping your bounds?
It is a fantastic question because the text heavily acknowledges this friction. You cannot wait for a formal calendar invitation given established corporate workflows.
Right. You'd be waiting forever.
The mechanism for moving upstream is building informal, cross-functional shadow influence.
Shadow influence. I like that.
Yeah. You don't start by crashing the VP's meeting.
Yeah.
You start by getting coffee with the clinical operations manager who is struggling to format their messy data. You use your AI-amplified skills to solve their small problem in 5 minutes.
Oh, I see. You build a relationship.
Exactly. Over time, because you've proven you understand their daily pain points, they start bringing you their bigger problems before they even formalize a strategy. You earn the right to be in the room by becoming an unbypassable node of helpfulness.
You become the person they naturally want to bounce ideas off of, which means you are there at the genesis of the idea.
Right. You become the bottleneck for strategy, not just execution.
But that requires a totally different skill set than just running data. Which brings us to a really fascinating argument in the text. Inserting yourself into high-level strategy requires these new capabilities, but the source argues that your ultimate competitive advantage, your moat against being replaced, isn't an isolated task force playing with the newest AI models.
No, not at all.
The true moat is organizational culture, the collective engagement of the people.
What's fascinating here is the text's observation of human behavior regarding new technology. It points out a corporate reality we have all lived through.
Oh, the rollout meeting.
Yes. Leadership will bring everyone into a conference room, do a flashy presentation on the new AI capabilities. Everyone cheers at how much time they'll save.
And then they all walk back to their desks and immediately revert to their old ways of working.
Exactly. The daily habits simply do not match the available tools. The author specifically notes that even in major pharma settings, the number of people who truly understand AI or who use advanced agentic tools on a daily basis is still remarkably small.
And they specifically name-drop Claude Code as an example of an agentic tool. For the listener who maybe just uses ChatGPT to write an email draft, what exactly is an agentic tool?
It is a massive leap in capability. Unlike standard AI, where you ask a question and get a text answer back, an agentic tool like Claude Code can take independent actions.
Independent actions, like what?
It can actually open your local files, write a script to analyze them, run the script, read the error message when the script inevitably fails, rewrite its own code to fix the error, and finalize the analysis completely autonomously.
Wait, it reads its own error messages and fixes them.
Yes, it acts as an independent agent working on your machine, not just a smart dictionary.
That completely changes the scope of what one single person can accomplish in an afternoon.
It really does. And the source says the most important move for 2026 isn't just about buying enterprise licenses for these tools. It is about building a culture where workers reimagine their identities entirely.
How so?
They need to view themselves as context providers, rapid learners, and hands-on builders. And there is a specific daily habit the author champions here.
Which is?
Using AI to quickly build a one-time tool for today's specific problem, even if that problem never reappears tomorrow.
A one-time tool, like disposable software.
The disposable tool concept, exactly. Imagine you have a weird formatting error in one massive dataset. Historically, you would either spend 3 days fixing it manually line by line, or you'd submit an IT ticket to get a permanent software fix that takes 6 months to approve.
Right, the classic corporate dilemma.
But in this new culture, you sit back, have an agentic AI, write a custom script to clean that specific data in 5 minutes, run it, and then you just delete the script.
Just throw it away.
Yeah. You aren't building permanent infrastructure. You are clearing a temporary roadblock instantly.
So what does this all mean for our mental load? Because I hear this and I think if we are constantly context switching, constantly learning new things, and building endless disposable AI tools from scratch every single day,
It sounds exhausting.
doesn't that just mean we are all going to be completely burned out? Isn't this a recipe for a massive migraine?
It sounds incredibly taxing, but the expert text clarifies the true source of modern burnout brilliantly. It argues that true exhaustion in our daily work actually does not come from executing well-defined tasks, even if you are building lots of small disposable tools to handle them.
Then what drains us?
The real fatigue, the thing that actually drains our souls at work, is navigating ambiguity.
Navigating ambiguity. What does that look like in the context of this data-driven environment?
The author describes it as those endless cross-functional meetings trying to align different departments. It's the messy root cause checking of a weird data issue where half the team thinks it means one thing and half thinks it means another.
Oh, I've been in those meetings.
Right. It's dealing with unprecedented issues where there is literally no clear definition, no established standard operating procedure, and absolutely no historical playbook to rely on.
It's the endless debates about what the data means, rather than the mechanical process of getting the data.
Precisely. And the fix provided in the text is to shift your mindset. You have to take extreme ownership of the deliverable, not just the process.
Ownership of the deliverable.
Yes. When a professional stops obsessing over following the standard operating procedure and instead obsessively focuses on solving this specific messy problem right in front of me, they stop fighting the ambiguity and start managing it.
They use AI when it helps them cut through the noise.
And they discard the AI when human judgment is needed to align the team. That is how institutional knowledge truly compounds. You aren't just memorizing a process. You are building a muscle for problem solving in the dark.
Here's where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. We've talked about how the organization needs to adapt its culture. But how do you take this philosophy and reshape your own day-to-day interactions and your long-term career trajectory?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because if AI is taking over the well-defined tasks in your lane, the text says you have to use AI to lower the barrier to entry into other people's lane.
Yes. This brings us to the concept of cross-functional proximity, which is really your most massive structural advantage. The text advises us to actively reach across the aisle.
Give me an example.
So if you are a statistician, you need to be talking to your colleagues in clinical, regulatory, operations, and medical affairs. Specifically, you want to target the colleagues who are less native to data.
Because they possess the deep domain expertise, but they don't have the analytical leverage to process it all.
Exactly. You need to uncover what keeps them stuck on a daily basis. Then, you use your statistical judgment, amplified by your agentic AI tools, to help them identify and solve problems they couldn't solve on their own.
But do I have to learn their entire job?
No. And the text makes a crucial point about this. You do not need to become a world-class expert in their domain. A statistician doesn't need to go get a medical degree. You just need to gather enough context to form an independent view and be in the room when the problem is shaped.
This daily cross-functional proximity builds a kind of value that cannot be automated.
Right.
When you are sitting down with a regulatory expert to solve their problem, it forces you to obsess over the why of a business problem rather than just the technical how of the data solution.
Which builds human judgment.
It builds human judgment, empathy, and relational trust.
And relational trust is the ultimate human advantage. I mean, AI can write a brilliant script to analyze clinical outcomes, sure.
Yeah.
But AI cannot build relational trust with the head of clinical operations.
Can't read the room.
Nope. And this internal proximity is also a massive advantage over external vendors or consultants. A vendor flies in once a quarter to deliver a fancy slide deck. But you are there at the coffee machine on a Tuesday, obsessing over the exact same shared business goals. This is the practical mechanism for expanding your influence from the ground up.
Which brings us to the ultimate conclusion about the future of work in this text. The author states that career trajectories are no longer going to be linear.
The old ladder is gone.
Right. Think about the corporate world of the 1990s. We all grew up with this idea of a career ladder. It was predictable. You start as a junior analyst, wait 3 years, become a senior analyst, wait 5 years, become a manager, then a director. It was a straight vertical climb.
Yeah, you just wait your turn.
But the author says that ladder is dead. The new reality is network geometry.
Network geometry changes everything about how you plan your future. It means your career isn't a straight line up a single silo anymore. It's a web of connections across different disciplines.
And what does AI do to that web?
Well, the text notes that AI will absolutely destroy old roles, and it will absolutely create new ones. But, and this is a vital warning, those two things do not happen simultaneously.
So there isn't a magical conveyor belt moving you from the obsolete job to the newly created AI-powered job?
No. You have to build the bridge yourself before the ground falls out from under you.
To survive and maintain optionality, you have to reposition yourself into an important node within that network geometry. You have to become a vital intersection that key value chains are forced to flow through.
And we are already seeing this hiring pattern shift aggressively, especially in the tech sector. The text notes that the market is moving away from hyper-specialists, people who only do one tiny thing very well.
What are they demanding instead?
They are starting to demand mini CEO or founder qualities for almost any knowledge position. And that shift is headed for all industries.
Let's define that, because mini CEO gets thrown around a lot on LinkedIn and places like that. In this context, a mini CEO means someone who takes end-to-end ownership. It's a person who understands the broader business context, who leverages whatever AI tools they need to overcome technical hurdles, and who drives a deliverable across the finish line, regardless of whose department it technically falls under.
It is entirely inevitable. If you are sitting at your desk waiting for someone to hand you a well-defined task, an AI agent is going to take your job.
Plain and simple.
Yep. But if you are actively finding the messy, cross-functional problems and leading the charge to solve them, you are becoming an unbypassable node.
Let's bring all of this together for you, the listener. We started with the realization that simply working faster is a trap. The ice delivery man with the faster horse still loses to the refrigerator.
Every single time.
To survive the AI era, you must escape the illusion of mere efficiency. You need to expand your scope. You have to move upstream to frame the critical questions before they are even formalized. You need to embrace the exhaustion of navigating ambiguity rather than retreating to the safety of well-defined tasks.
Right. Build rapid, disposable AI tools to solve today's problems.
And most importantly, you need to use AI to confidently step into other domains, building empathy and trust, ultimately becoming a mini CEO in your organization's network geometry.
This raises an important question, though, and it's something that builds on the text but takes it a step further into the future.
Oh, I love these. Lay it on me.
We've talked about how AI lowers the barrier for a data specialist, like our pharma statistician, to enter the domains of clinical or medical affairs.
Right.
But doesn't it also lower the barrier for those non-data folks to enter the realm of statistics?
Oh, wow. A completely two-way street.
Exactly. If the head of clinical operations can now use an agentic AI to run complex predictive models without needing a PhD in advanced mathematics, their barrier to entry has dropped just as much as yours has.
That is wild to think about.
If AI allows everyone to easily cross over into everyone else's lane, The future isn't just about establishing yourself as a node in the network. It's going to be an intense battle over who possesses the ultimate strategic vision.
A battle to define the overarching purpose of the entire network.
Yes. The professionals who win this next era won't just be the ones who can cross domains. They will be the ones who can tell the most compelling story about where all those domains need to go together.
That is a phenomenal point to end on. It's not just about turning the wrench faster, and it's not just about learning how to use the machine next to you. It's about being the person who has the vision to decide what the factory is actually going to build.
Raul said.
So, tomorrow morning, look at your own daily tasks. Ask yourself, are you just optimizing inside a box, trying to shave 5 minutes off a process that doesn't actually matter? Or are you raising the ceiling? Break out of your specific lane, build a new destination, and don't let yourself be commoditized. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.